Welcome back to the seventh episode of our webcast series on the theme Life is a Challenge, Meet It. For those of us joining for the first time, in our earlier sessions, we have reflected through the insights and experiences of distinguished speakers on the essence of living in the present and the practical ways to embrace it. Today, to deepen our understanding, we are privileged to be joined by two eminent personalities. Both are not only stalwarts in their respective medical fields, but also ardent devotees of our beloved Bhagawan. Having had the rare blessing of serving in Swami's esteemed institutions of higher medical sciences and of learning directly through physical interactions with Swami, they bring with them wisdom shaped by professional experience and spiritual commitment. It is my honor to introduce them to you. Our first speaker this evening is Dr. Sundaresh, a long-standing
Sai
devotee
Ram.
of Bhagwan. Welcome, Dr. Sundaresh.
Sai
A
Ram.
long-standing devotee of Bhagwan and the director of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences, Whitefield, Bangalore. He was born in a family which first came in contact with Bhagwan in 1948. With an illustrious career in hospital administration and healthcare leadership, Dr. Sundaresh has played a pivotal role in strengthening patient care systems, fostering medical excellence, and ensuring the Institute's unwavering commitment to compassionate, value based service. Under his stewardship, the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Medical Sciences continues to embody its unique model, seamlessly integrating advanced medical technology with holistic, patient centered care. An accomplished orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Sundaresh was also blessed with the rare privilege of personally operating on Bhagwan himself. Our second speaker for the day is Dr. Srikanth Sola, a cardiologist whose life has been deeply intertwined with Swami's mission. He served for over a decade at the Sri Sathya Sai Superspecialty Hospital in Bangalore and continues his seva there on an honorary basis. In 2018, expanding his vision beyond cardiology, Dr. Sola founded Devik Earth, a pioneering green tech enterprise dedicated to clean air solutions and climate change mitigation. Academically, Dr. Sola's journey has been equally impressive. He is a graduate of Stanford and Duke universities and went on to serve as a cardiologist at the world renowned Cleveland Clinic. Recognized as one of America's top cardiologists by the Consumer Research Council of America, Dr. Sola has authored over 40 publications in international peer reviewed journals, holds several patents, and contributes actively as an editor and reviewer for several scientific journals. The discussion today will be moderated by Sri Vikas Bagri, an alumnus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, and he currently serves with the Government of India. After completing his MBA from Prashanti Nilayam, he began his professional journey with the National Knowledge Commission, an advisory body to the Prime Minister of India. Over the years, he has contributed significantly through several key roles at esteemed institutions, including the Office of Advisor to the Prime Minister, the National Innovation Council, and MIT Media Lab USA. An entrepreneur at heart, Brother Vikas co founded Positive Gifts, a venture dedicated to spreading positivity, inspiration, and Bhagwan's message of human values through thoughtfully designed products and gifts. It is now my privilege to invite Brother Vikas to guide us through today's discussion. Brother Vikas.
Thank you, Brother Tarang. Sai Ram to everyone. Warm welcome to our speakers. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. So let's start with just establishing, base understanding of how do you understand this theme of living in the present and why do you think it's becoming so important in our lives today? Dr. Sundaresh, how about we start with you, please?
Yeah, it's living in the present has got more importance at this point of time in the physical absence of Bhagavan, because we've all experienced his physical presence and his immense grace by various methods, and trying to understand his teachings at this point of time and how to implement and live whatever he has taught us to live with is, I think, very important. And such interactions which we are currently having are very useful for such things. It's not only for the persons, people who are on this meeting, and also for us personally, for me also. That's what I think it's all about.
So, Dr. Sola, your thoughts, and I'll also, supplement the question with another question, which had come actually in one of our previous episodes. Somebody says that, while we're discussing living in the present, but there's so many things to think about the future, from, starting from savings for the future to human personal relationships in the future, to safety measures for health and wealth, and ultimately efforts for, reaching Bhagwan and for, moksha itself. So how do you reconcile all of these different things with this topic of living in the present?
Sai Ram, brother, that's a wonderful question. And thank you all for having me. Thanks, Swami, for having me here. Living in the present, we learned this from Bhagavan's physical presence. When we were with Swami, we were always watching every single movement that Swami would make. It could be an eye movement, a slight indication of the hand, a twist like this, some small motion. And we were so laser focused. And in that time, there's nothing about the past, and there's certainly nothing about the future. It's just, what is Bhagavan doing in this moment right now? We really learned that from him. But if you go a bit deeper, actually living in the present should be the easiest thing to do. Why? Because you are not your body. You are not your personality. You are not your mind, your ego. You are the Atma. You are the self. And for that self, there is no past. There is no future. It's only the omnipresent now moment. And so living in the present actually is your natural state. It's just that when we start to identify with the body, then we go into past and future, and all complications happen. But we're in this game, right? Life is a game, life is a challenge, and we have to take care of things like, as the questioner asks, insurance and the savings and, finance and my kids' marriage expenses and education expenses. And so those responsibilities are part of life, and they have to be met and they have to be taken care of. What happens, though, is we tend to start to get into a cycle of worry. And when we get into that worry, then we get taken off into the future and we go in a different direction. Always coming back, always bringing yourself back to the present. It's a constant effort coming back to that present moment.
But still, Dr. Sola, I'll come through another question at you. You said it shouldn't take effort, and you ended by saying it's a constant effort.
Yes, it's like learning how to run 10 kilometers, right? Initially you'll start what? You might walk, and then you might run, and then you might run 1 kilometer, and then you might run 2, 3. But eventually, if you keep at it, you'll get to that 5 kilometer mark, and then you'll get to the 10 kilometer mark, and then you'll go much further. It becomes natural to you. So initially there is a little bit of effort, just like anything else that we learn to do, riding a cycle, learning to swim, but eventually it becomes second nature.
Sure. So, worries, uh, thinking of somehow attachment to the past or baggage of the past, anxieties of the future, fear. A lot of these drive us away from the present, whether in the past or the future. And Dr. Sundaresh, we were discussing this earlier. You had this unique opportunity of operating on Bhagavan, right? Just thinking about me sort of, gives me the chills. In that moment, was there worry? Was there fear? Was there anxiety? What if something goes wrong? You know, I mean, just that. Were you in the? I mean, how were you in the present? What is the state of mind?
Well, I I think the moment Bhagavan called me for a consultation with him through some others. It was then itself that feeling that I'm going to be operating on somebody or treating the divine himself was removed, because when I got the call, I had an inkling that there is something really wrong and it must be with Bhagavan himself, because people who called me didn't reveal who the patient was and what it was. And I was driving my own vehicle for 30 kilometers across from Bangalore city to Whitefield. So soon after that initial contact, that entire conversation and everything happened was completely dictated by him. I don't think there was anything that I, as a body, could contribute to that. So he took over my complete physical being, and whatever I did was only because of that one single grace of his. There was no way I could have done anything if he had allowed me to continue to think that it is going to be the God himself on whom I'm going to be performing surgery on. I think my hand would never have been steady.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have been able to perform whatever I did. So for almost 3-4 weeks following that surgery, the same thing persisted. And only later did it really, dawn upon me, saying, my God, what have I done? So that is how it is. It was all his act. It was nothing. I had no credit in that at all. I think it is even a blasphemy to say that I can take credit for what I did. No, there's no chance on that. Whatever happened was all his own doing. That's the way I felt and looked at, and he did everything for me. I didn't do anything.
So this is, we theoretically have heard this concept so many times. And this is at least, one instance where at least one person, which is you in this case, is actually talking about going through it, wherein we say that, we are not the doer, and Bhagwan is the doer in all the cases. Right? But sometimes we understand it, sometimes we're theoretical about it, sometimes an experience like this happens. Can you further sort of unpack this and help us understand what was the difference between, I mean, there'll be cases when you're thinking, I am doing it. And this case where for 3-4 weeks you said, it was very different. What was that different? Was
Well,
it a
there
mind?
was
Was it thoughts?
the mind was completely taken over. There was no option for me to think at all. It was taken over completely by Bhagavan, and then whatever happened because of his will.
Yeah.
And there is no other way it could have happened.
Yeah.
You see, in fact, 3-4 weeks passed away, maybe 3 weeks or more, before it dawned on me, and somebody said, "Do you know what you have done?" And then I said, "Yeah, I know what I have done, but then I think it's Swami who has done this and not me." That's when I realized, oh my God, what is this that has happened? In fact, on one occasion much later, I did ask Bhagavan. I said, Swami, you have cured yourself of many a physical ailment, and you have come out of all those things. You had heart attacks, you had strokes, you had wounds on the leg. Everything has been cured by yourself. You had a fracture in his pelvis beforehand. But why did you allow this to happen, and why did you even allow me to operate on you? This was maybe much later when I was with him at Puttaparthi after we went from Whitefield to Puttaparthi. And the answer I got from him was very astounding, and I just don't understand the meaning of that even today. He said, "You will never understand that now, but it is only to build a relationship between you and me." I said, "Swami, what is that relationship?" He said, "No, you will not understand it now. You will come to know later." And I don't think I know about it even today.
Mm.
That's what it was.
Sure. Dr. Sola, again, using Sir's experience as an example, how do we, the effort that you spoke about, it takes constant practice and effort, right? And Sir's experience is an example of realization of that effort of really, staying in the present for such a long period of time, effortlessly. Um, so, how does one move from our constant daily life, with back and forth from future to present and present to past and so on, to such a state? Some practical tips, some ways of doing it, and your own experience around this, please.
Sure, sure. You know that we drift from past to present to future. The mind is constantly moving. If you look at it, it's always moving. And the reason why it's moving is because of just one underlying thought. And that one underlying thought, which causes all our problems, is I am the body. That is what causes us so much trouble. And if we can just quieten the mind, it becomes easy to see the truth as it really is, that you and Swami are one and the same. And Swami has given us a very lovely technique called the thumb meditation, which helps us to silence the mind. And the lovely thing is, Swami knows that we're all in a hurry. We don't have much time. And so he's given us his thumb meditation that just takes 12 seconds. Shall we do it together? It's
For
very
sure.
simple. Yeah, yeah. So he says that, all you have to do is just look at your thumb. And he says, why your thumb? He says, well, because you carry it around with you wherever you go. But actually, the thumb represents the Purusha, the God self in the 5 fingers of the hand. And all you do is you just watch the thumb. You're just being the witness. You're just observing, just being the witness. Let's do this together. All of you who are watching this live, just take out your thumb and you're just going to watch the thumb for 12 seconds. I'll keep time. Okay. Just watching. That's all. No thinking, no past, no forward, just thinking now, and begin. And stop. So that's it. This is a simple technique that Bhagavan has given to us. He says if you do this for 12 seconds, it's one muhurta or one period of time. If you do that times 12 seconds, about a minute, 44 seconds or whatever, 24 seconds, then it becomes one meditation. And if you do that 12 times continuously, that's about 28 odd minutes, then that actually can give you samadhi. So in a half hour, you can all be self-realized. It's that simple. But you know what he says, that if you do this continuously for 3 months, you will have laser sharp focus. And I've actually taught this to many of our students, both at Brindavan campus as well as the nursing college at Swami's hospital in Whitefield. And you can see their exam scores go up and up and up. So parents, if you have kids at home, teach this to your kids and you'll see their concentration go up. Do this yourself. But these are simple things. What I see in myself and in devotees across the world, the reason they get into trouble is not because they're bad devotees or they don't try enough. They're so devoted to Bhagavan. But Swami has given, actually, he said in Prashanti Vahini, he said, um, if you really want to know the self, what is required is ceaseless effort. Ceaseless effort, those 2 words, ceaseless effort. And it really takes that, because what we do is our sadhana tends to be discontinuous. It gets broken up so many times during the day and throughout the week. And that's not going to get you to the goal. It's that ceaseless effort that will help you to leave life's challenges, that will help you to stay in the present no matter what is happening.
This is really, really interesting technique that you shared, Dr. Sola. And since you call this out specifically for parents and kids as well, Just one question on the technique. So you're supposed to look at your thumb and just keep staring at it. What if
Just be the witness. You're just watching. And what this does is it teaches you how to be quiet, how to be in the present moment. As he said, most of us are going into the past, we're looking into the future, we are doing one thing and we're thinking about something. We may be talking to somebody and we're pretending to listen, but actually we're just planning what we're going to say next without actually listening neither from the head nor from the heart to what that person is saying. This technique teaches you to be present because you're just being the witness. You're just watching, and that's enough.
Especially when you start this, a lot of thoughts will come when you're watching, even in the first 12 seconds, forget the minutes to follow thereafter. So what does then one do with the thoughts?
You just witness them, right?
Okay.
It's like maybe you can hear the sound of traffic going by, some horn or some vehicle going by, but we don't stop and open the window and look at that car going by. We just let it go. And we do the same thing with the inner traffic, the inner noise that is there. We just let it go without holding on to it.
So
That's
don't
all.
interact with the thoughts that are coming. Just be.
Yeah, exactly. Just witness them and let it go, just like you would traffic that's passing by.
Great, great. Now, you also said, this very interesting thing that you've said, which we sort of witness at our workplaces every day, that we don't even listen to people. And we start prepping for the next answer. Especially, with both of you doctors here, and in my personal experience with a lot of Delhi hospitals and doctors, when I go and visit a doctor, Dr. Sundaresh, usually he's listening to me, or rather writing my prescription, listening to another patient on the phone. And I'm very confused as to whose medicines I'm going to take, as as Swami's doctors, help us understand from Swami's directions, what is a doctor at a Sai hospital? What are the practices that you follow? How do you listen to patients? Where does living in the present, fit in all this scheme of things? Dr. Sundaresh first, then followed by Dr. Sola.
I think as far as patient care is concerned, living in the present just means that you deal with the person who is sitting with you right now and give your full attention to that particular person who's come to us with a lot of hope and faith, especially in Swami's institution, where we deal with very vulnerable crowd. This crowd of patients are here because they can't afford to go anywhere else, and so they have come here. And a lot of people, of course, come because of Swami's institution. But at the same time, they are vulnerable. Simply, I call them vulnerable not by just age. Usually, vulnerable is defined as extremes of age, either geriatric or pediatric, in technical jargon of medical profession. But these people are vulnerable because they are in such a desperate situation that they will accept anything you say. Whatever you say, there's no next question that they will ask you. They'll say yes to whatever we say. So it's all the more reason that we need to sit and spend as much time as is possible with the patient. And then that is what living in the present with them would mean to me. And this is something which I try to convey to all the doctors with whom I work with at the hospital, saying, please speak to the patient and listen to the patient. Listening itself is a big boon to the patient, because if you listen to them, they think at least that this is one person who's interested in my welfare. If you don't even listen to the person, and as you described earlier, if somebody is speaking on the phone or somebody is looking at the computer, that's unfortunately a thing we have to live with now. The computer in every outpatient department, you keep working on the computer and talking to a patient, the patient is not sure whether you're listening to him or not listening to him. So these are the issues which one needs to address at an individual level, at the highest administrative level, it's impossible to force these things. We can only suggest and advise and say, please do this. And I think it is done to some extent. I cannot say it is done to a 100% compliance is not there, but at the same time, they do pay a little extra attention than what would happen in the outside world. That is for sure. So that is where I think we would make a difference to say, if you want to say living in the present, which means the present for the patient is that he's sitting with the doctor right now. And for him, that is the most important moment. And I think the doctor should respect that and do that. And that's the way it should be.
Sure, sir. Dr. Sola?
It's a lovely question. And Sundaresh, sir, I agree with everything you said. This is something that we all have to practice all the time, not just in the hospital, but throughout wherever we go. When Bhagawan was physically there, I had, we physicians are very lucky. Swami really pampers us and he gives us a chance to be physically very close to him. And I would see how when Swami was interacting with the devotees who had come to meet him, it didn't matter where they came from, how they were, what their position was. Whoever it was, however they was, Bhagavan would treat them with so much love. So much love would just come pouring from him. And, sitting just a few feet away, many times I would see this over and over again. So I thought to myself, well, shoot, if Swami is loving like this, let me give this a try. Let me try loving like how Bhagavan loves. I actually did this. So I would go into Swami's hospital and I would just start giving love like how Swami gives love. And what I realized is it's not my love because my love is only so small. So then I said, Swami, let it be your love and let your love just come through me to everyone else around. And that's what I would do is I just give Swami's love to everyone. I would keep trying this and I would keep getting better at it. I would find that I would be less interested in criticizing other people. For example, I would just want to be there in that present moment in love with whoever was there. And Swami responded. Bhagavan actually responded. What he did is he would call me to him to sit next to him. Sometimes he would sit next to me. And I realized that this was something new. This never happened to me before. Just we want to be so close to Bhagavan's physical form. And here Swami was giving this. And why? All I did was just try to share his love with whoever I would meet. And I would actually make it a game. I would say, okay, I gave let's say this much love today. Can I give even more love, tomorrow? And it would become a game like this. One occasion, I had a chance to ask Swami because I was seeing that I was getting better at sharing Swami's love, but it wasn't perfect. And so I asked him, I said, Swami, we see the way that you love, and we try to love just like you, but sometimes we're not able to. And immediately Bhagavan replied, very simple sentence, but I think it applies to all of us. He said, because sometimes you're afraid. And I had the habit of always repeating back to Swami whatever he said to me. So I said, because we're afraid, Swami? And he nodded his head and he said, and because sometimes you forget. So we're not able to love like how Bhagavan loves, either because we're afraid to love or we forget to love. And this holds us back not only from, being love itself, but just being in the present moment with whoever it is that's with us.
Nice. Dr. Sola, help us unpack this idea of, giving Swami's unconditional love, sharing Swami's unconditional love with more people.
It's the best thing in the world. It's the funnest thing in the world. You're not doing anything. You're just asking Swami's love to come to you and through you to everyone else around. And I learned this again from Swami. One time, when I came from the United States to India, I had to get a medical license for India, right, to practice medicine. And the document had to be signed by the head of the institution, the head of the entire organization, which was Bhagavan. So the then director took the documents to Swami. Swami signed them, and it came back to me. And from that signature, Swami signs his name, Sri Sathya Sai. There was so much love coming just from Bhagavan's signature itself and just from those papers. I thought, "Oh, I can't believe I have to give these papers to the government. Sorry, because I know you work in the government, but you know what I mean. I wasn't going to see these papers anymore." But just from Swami's love. And so I realized that, whatever Swami touches, it has that love. And we can also be like that. We can ensure that whatever we are doing, wherever we're going, wherever we're sitting, we're just radiating Swami's love. And if we forget, and we always forget, what I do is I just make it a game. I tap myself on the shoulder and I say, "Oh, Swami, you really fooled me that time, but help me not to forget again." And so over time, I get better and better at sharing Bhagavan's love with everybody, whether I'm in the car, in a plane, in a train, in a bus, a metro, at work, in the hospital, wherever it is. It just becomes second nature now.
Sure. I would still further push you and request Dr. Sundaresh also to contribute to this. I think this is the key idea, for today's discussion. Let's further understand how do we, share Swami's love, Swami's unconditional love. What's the difference in sharing our love? Like you said earlier, I can only share so much love, but Swami's love is infinite, is unconditional. So let's take a situation and let's help understand, with our audience. So say you're a doctor, and let's take a personal, life incident. What does it mean to share Swami's love? Is it a prayer? Are you speaking differently? Is it, what's the difference? I'm
You know,
going
for,
to push you back on the same so that we sort of unpack this. Sometimes these concepts become very philosophical and conceptual.
sure. So
Trying
what I
to-
do,
Yeah,
someone walks into my OPD
right.
and I just see them as Swami.
Okay.
And I treat them with the same love and the same respect that I would give to Bhagavan himself. And I, I don't want to give it in the wrong way, but I try to just blast them with Bhagavan's love. I just try to give as much love as possible. And you will see people, I've seen people transform. I remember I had a patient, his heart was so weak. He had heart failure. His heart was so weak. He had that in cardiology, when people are at the end of their life because of a weak heart, they actually turn gray, like the color gray. He had that color, and I knew that he had 1, 2 months left to live. So I met him in my OPD. I did what I did, giving Swami's love. I said, whenever you take this medicine, just chant Swami's name and then take the medicine. This medicine will help you. And it was ordinary heart failure medicines that we give to anybody with that condition. And then he left. About 10 months later, I'm in the OPD talking to a patient. Someone taps me on the back of my shoulder and he says, "Do you remember me?" It was that same gentleman, but he was pink, he was healthy, he was looking so good, and most importantly, his heart function had gotten much stronger. This is the power of Bhagavan's love. This is what happens when you share Swami's love. It's not that everyone is going to become a miracle, and it's not that everyone is going to recognize Swami's love. It's not that everyone is going to give love back to you. No, not at all. That's Swami's will. What happens to Bhagavan's love is his business, not yours. Our role is just to share that love as best we can.
Sure. Dr. Sundaresh, how do you do it?
I, I think it's putting it into a more practical approach. The concept of sharing love can be anything. To me, as far as a patient is concerned, you have to give him what he has come for.
Hmm.
You have to give him that confidence that you're going to help him. And when he leaves your room, as a consulting room, he should be a happy person.
Mhm.
If you have done that, I think practically you have done whatever Swami wanted you to do.
Hmm.
To treat him like a human being, number one, and try to give him what he has come seeking your assistance.
Hmm.
If we think we can cure anybody, I think it's a big mistake we're doing. We are just instruments in the hand of Swami, and we just have to go with whatever little scientific knowledge we have and try to do the best we can. And if you are convinced, and if the patient is convinced that you are going to do it, he's going to go out of the room a happy person. The outcome of whatever he has come for, the disease he has come for, whatever, is not in our hands. It's totally not in our hands. I think our job is just to be sure to keep this person happy. And that is the biggest way you can, I think that would be the effect of the love that you are going to offer him. You don't have to go overboard to do anything else. You just have to listen to him and give him the due attention, examine him properly, and then talk to him and explain to him what it is. See, that is what it is. As a medical professional, I think this is what we can do to offer our love to the people who come to us. And the same thing applies in the general world as well. Maybe it your family or it is your friend or anybody. It's very easy to get angry. That's the easiest thing to do. You see, this is what it is. I always have a very interesting quote I make. You have to open your hearts to people. And the analogy here is it takes lesser effort to open your fist and lesser amount of muscles to open your fist than to make a fist. And similarly, it takes more muscles to frown than to smile. So I think these are the things which we need to simply follow and give the people what, I mean, as a medical professional, I'm telling, and this is applicable across in any other social circumstance as well. We don't need to think too much about how we are going to give you love. Just be patient and listen to people and try and see if you can help them. If you can't help them, you can at least tell them this is what it is, and you'll have to seek help somewhere else. And Swami's own words: if you can't do anything, at least if you can't help this person, at least speak to him nicely. You see, that's what it is.
If you can't oblige, speak obliging.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't get that word. Yeah, true, very true.
Right, sir. So let's talk about the health impacts of living in the present. As an individual, if I am not moving so much in the past to the future and I've started practicing, ceaseless effort towards living in the present, um, with various things that we're talking about, does that have a health implication? Physical, mental, emotional. As doctors, your advice, please.
I think can you reframe that question?
So basically the theme that we're talking of living in the present, right? Which is not living in the past and not living in the future, right? If somebody is practicing that, does that have any positive health implications on our physical, mental, emotional self?
Yeah, I think if you think too much about the future, you're bound to be in trouble. And if you think too much about the past, also you are in trouble. Because you have no control over both. You have only control over what you are today. This is like monitoring your blood sugar. I'm not the expert in that, but still, today people have there is not the people. The profession has the ability to monitor blood sugar on a daily basis, hourly basis, by putting a sensor on the body. And people have the habit of going on looking at their blood sugar continuously because it comes on their mobile phones. Mobile phones becoming part of the body. And that is, I have seen personally in a number of people, it has become a cause for concern. And I have convinced some of my own relatives, say, please get rid of that sensor first and stop thinking about your blood sugar. You see, these are all things you have to, at some point of time, you have to have faith in Swami and in your own destiny as well. And that is when you're going to have peace of mind. And then that's when your sugar is also going to come good, well under control. If you keep on thinking about that, not only your sugar, your blood pressure also will go up. I think that's what it is. It has an impact on the health, definitely. To think too much about the past and try to look too much into the future, both of which are not in your control.
Hmm.
What is in the past has already happened and gone. You can't change it. What's in the future is something which you don't know. So you might as well live in the present and try to be at peace with yourself.
Sure. Dr. Sola, especially as a cardiologist, how does it impact the heart?
Yeah,
And
this is like every day for me and my patients. I can see a patient with heart disease, coronary artery disease, where they have blockages and maybe a previous angioplasty and stent or bypass operation, someone with heart failure, any number of conditions. It gets worsened by stress. And one of the chief causes of that stress is they're living in the future, living in the past. In fact, Bhagavan himself says that too much living in the past, he says, too much remembrance of the past is a major cause of depression. So it can lead to mental illness as well. And so, again, we need to stay in the present moment because that's our natural state. Remember, we are the Atma, we are the self, and being in the present, that now moment is the only thing we know. But when we identify with the body wrongly, then we get into trouble. Now, back in 2003, Bhagavan had come to the Whitefield Hospital and he gave a discourse to the medical staff, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedical staff, and others there. And he said something very interesting. He said, all of you, he said, you're going to be under a lot of stress taking care of patients. And Swami was very particular that we physicians take care of ourselves. I remember once he said that if you doctors get sick, then who will take care of the patients? So he was very keen on this. So he said, coming back to this discourse, he said, all of you are going to get very stressed. And then Swami said, in the future, there'll be tennis court here, there'll be gym, there'll be volleyball courts, and all that came to happen. Bhagavan himself came and inaugurated the gym sometime later. Then he said something very important. He said, when you go home, okay, when you go home, I want you to go out and play. Those are the words he used. He said it in Telugu, of course, but he says, when you go home, I want you to go out and play. And I think that was a lovely way of Bhagavan telling us, that, when we're living in the future or the past, we're getting too serious, we're probably getting way too stressed. And we just need to go out and play. And whatever it is that we like to do for fun, whatever games that we like to play, go out and play, go out and laugh like children, go and, shout and scream when you're playing sports and all these things, but go out and play. And you will see immediately all the stress, all the stuff that you're carrying from work and whatever will go away. That's Bhagavan's advice. Go out and play.
and uh, any examples you can share from, say, your patients where this advice would have changed their health?
Yeah, we have a number of people. If you look at heart disease, for example, I've seen so many patients who they start out in really bad shape. They start out on death's door. They come to us with an acute heart attack, that is a heart attack in its immediate stages, and they're already in shock. That means the blood pressure has gone low, the heart rate is really way too fast, and if we don't support them immediately, they're going to literally pass away right in front of us. We take care of them. We do an emergency angioplasty operation to open up the blockage that caused the heart attack, and then they recuperate over the next days and weeks and months, as they go home, etc. And what I see is the ones who do well are the ones who take this kind of advice to heart. I have one patient who came to me. He works at Siemens. He's a software engineer, did a lot of work for them, but ended up with severe heart failure, was on the ventilator, on life support, came to see me. He was at another hospital, came to see me. I put him on the same medicines. I told him, say Swami's name whenever you take your medicines. His heart function over the next 2 years recovered back to normal. We're able to bring him down on his heart medicines, and on his DP, on his WhatsApp profile, you see a picture of him. This is the same guy who was on a ventilator just 2 years ago. You see now that he's riding a bicycle. This is, going out and play at its best.
Mm-hmm. And medically, how do you define stress?
So what happens is, when stress comes into the body, physiologically, what happens is it starts to kick off a series of hormones in the body. Immediately, blood pressure will go up, heart rate will go up. We've all had this, that dryness in the throat, maybe some sweating here and there. That is stress. But the effect of stress is not just the immediate thing. It continues for a while. Now, a little bit of stress is okay. You're getting ready to study for exam or take an exam. You're a runner and it's the start of a race and you're a little bit, nervous about the start of the race. A little bit of stress is fine. But this long-term stress, this unhealthy stress is not good. I actually had this happen to me. My father passed away earlier this year. He merged in Swami's lotus feet. The last thing he said was, "Let us chant the name of Ram." And then he merged into Swami's feet. But the stress of losing my father afterwards, I actually gained 4 kilograms. I was like, oh my goodness, how could I have gained 4 kgs? And then my blood pressure went up. And I went to the HOD of cardiology at Sathya Sai Hospital. She said, do this, do that, do that. I did everything. And then over time, my weight came down, blood pressure came down, and everything else came back to normal. But this is actually emotional, mental stress that takes a toll on your physical body. Right. And this is something that happens probably to everybody. And you'll see, I think if all of you look back, when do you gain weight? Because you were stressed. Yeah, stress has a real effect on us. And it's an outcome or it can be an outcome of not living in the present moment.
Dr. Sundaresh, any inputs on that? How do you look at stress? I mean, in medical terms.
Well, I think the stress is what has been described by Dr. Sola already is the physiological response which the body gives, which has a deleterious effect on all the organs in the body, more so the heart and the brain. And that's how it presents to us. But you can also make out the response of the stress in your day-to-day activities, in your response to in your social life, in your response, how you behave with your own colleagues, with your family, all that, it reflects on everything. And that would be a major cause of increasing the stress further. You see, whatever the precipitating factor for the stress is one thing, and then the response that you have for that stress in your own social circumstances it will become a vicious cycle. Actually, that is what is going to become deleterious.
Right.
So there is the only way of handling that would probably be trying to have an alternative method of relaxing yourself. And to us, Swami has been a great help in that, and with his grace, we've always lived with his name on our lips, and that has helped us tremendously. One has to find an alternate method of handling that stress. This is more so with people who don't have that alternate method, who get worse. That is what I think is and about this game which Swami has mentioned. It's like you have to switch off from your status of professional work when you leave the hospital. If you have the ability to do that, then you're de-stressing yourself automatically.
Yeah,
I think that's what probably Swami meant by saying it's wrong to interpret what Swami has said, but all the same, I think this is what I have followed and I have observed and religiously followed it. I switch off completely when I leave the hospital and go until I come back again into the portals, and then everything comes back, whatever needs to be done and all that. So that's a big benefit. You have to find an alternate method of overcoming that stress. It has to be a conscious effort.
Yeah. In fact, Swami is saying, I remember, is change of work is rest. And so, I mean, the idea of switching off from professional and getting into whether, sports or something else is a change of work. And
You
I,
see, I have, it may not be out of place to mention, as children, when we came back from school, which was usually around 3:30 or 3:40, and we were allowed to be at home only for 20 minutes, just to have some refreshments and change your clothes. And then my dad would come and chase us out of the house.
Hmm.
All of us. No one was spared from it. We were five children, and then every single one of us, the three girls and the two boys, would have to go out of the house and play. For us, it was very easy because we used to all go out to the fields and play basketball, cricket, whatever. But the girls had a difficult time. So, but whatever, that is the habit that we developed. And I think that has come a long way for us.
Mhm.
So I would add here, that stress is also contagious.
Yeah.
That if one person is stressed, then somebody else picks it up and then they get stressed, and maybe in a different way, but certainly it does. And in that sense, perhaps we could say that not living in the present is also contagious. The other thing, though, is that love is also contagious.
Right.
I remember once a beautiful story. I had seen a patient who needed a heart operation. He needed a very complex angioplasty, and he was at risk. I mean, it wasn't a simple angioplasty. It was very complex, and there was a risk because he had kidney problems as well. He had other things, diabetes, and so many problems. And it was a tough angioplasty, but we did it. And I remember seeing him again as he was walking with his wife out of the hospital, and they were crying. And I was just walking into the hospital at the same time. And I said, "Sir, what happened? Why are you crying?" I thought maybe the operation was canceled and I didn't know about it. And they were crying because, that. And they said, "No, sir, no, nothing like that." He said, "We've been to so many hospitals and we've never been treated with so much love as we have here at Swami's hospital. And now we're crying because we have to leave this place."
Mhm.
Right. This is the power of that love. It affects everyone. And rather than going from past or future, it's much better just to come back to Bhagavan's love and focus on that, sharing love, sharing love, sharing love, always giving Swami's love. And in that, you will disappear in Swami's love, just like a piece of rock candy dropped into a river. Will dissolve into the water of the river. Just be like that, dissolving into that river of Swami's love.
Sure.
Enough. That's enough.
So, in fact, I mean, just to paraphrase what you said, sharing Swami's love, like you said earlier, that can be contagious. Sharing stress is contagious. Living in the present can be contagious, and not living in the present can also be contagious.
Whether we know about it or not, it affects other people around us, right? We've all had that experience.
Yeah, yeah. And I think Swami, again, Swami is another quote I'm remembering: start the day with love, spend the day with love, right? I think one can also use it to convey when you start the day with stress and spend the day with stress, when you end the day with stress. So I think this is a conscious choice one needs to make. And you need to be really living in the present to be conscious about the choices that you're making.
It's
And
it's
then,
ceaseless effort, Vikas, brother. It's ceaseless effort.
yeah.
The moment you stop your sadhana, Maya will come like a tiger and grab you by the neck and shake you like a rag doll. It's ceaseless effort. That's the only way. Once Swami was asked, they asked him, Bhagavan, for how long should we do our sadhana? Then you know what Bhagavan replied? He said, for as long as you are breathing, you have to continue your sadhana. For as long as you're breathing, you have to continue your sadhana.
But what does that mean for a person, who has two kids to deal with, send them school, go to office, pay the bills, listen to the boss, fight with the neighbors, look after parents, and so on and so forth.
All that is also Swami's work, no? How is it any different?
Yeah.
Raising kids, spending time with your spouse, you're sharing love with them as well. All these relationships that we have in our lives are just opportunities to share Swami's love, whether it's our own parents, our in-laws, our spouse and their family, our kids, our neighbors, our colleagues at work. It's just opportunities to share love. You know, Swami would give us chances to be with him physically. These are just chances. These relationships are just chances to share his unconditional love.
Mhm.
Life is a game, play it, and the game is to share love. And eventually, what happens is when you play this game of love, you melt into that love. You become nothing in that love. And that's the most beautiful thing of all.
Sure. Sudeshwar, you mentioned a very important point when you said, you need to figure out methods of relaxing yourself or de-stressing yourself, right? So just between both of you, I want to just compile a list of ways of relaxing yourself and something that you do and something that you also advise as Sai devotees or doctors to others. Starting with Dr. Sundaresh.
The any surgical procedure is the source of stress because you're always worried that there's a tendency or you may make a mistake. So to remind myself that I am not the one who's going to do it in the operating room, this is not now, but from the last ever since I started operating as an orthopedic surgeon, I have Swami's bhajans playing loud in my operating room.
Okay.
Not only in Whitefield Hospital, even when I was at Ramaya or very few times that I've operated in corporate hospitals, I didn't care whether anybody liked it or didn't like it. But that was a reminder to me. So that's what it was. And as far as managing stress is concerned, I always relied on a lot of exercise. First of all, the other methods of stress busters, as you call it, is yoga, meditation, and all this, something which I can never do. First of all, because I cannot physically sit in that Padmasana position from childhood. So I don't know why, but it's not possible. So I never depended upon that. I've always relied on exercise and I indulged myself in my work, which itself was a big stress buster for me.
Okay. Dr. Sola?
Wow, that was really beautiful, sir. Work as a stress buster. That's really divine. Really lovely, lovely. Thank you. Yeah, for me, I remember when we moved from the United States to Bangalore to join Swami's hospital, we had what we think of as our golden period. Bhagawan was always calling my wife and I, always talking to us. And it became so much so that our friends back at the hospital, when we were going from Bangalore to Puttaparthi on Saturday, Sunday, they would say, "Oh, you went to Puttaparthi this weekend. What did Swami say to you this time?" In a teasing way, they would say it like this. And once Bhagavan called us and he said, "Do you know why you two have so much divine grace?" Swami must have also been aware of this teasing. Of course he was. And we weren't so long yet in Bhagavan's institution, but we knew enough that when Swami asked these kinds of questions, you just be chup and let Swami himself give the answer. So we just did like this and looked at Swami and just shook our heads no. And Bhagavan said something very important. He said, because no matter what happens, you are always happy. So beautiful. No matter what happens, you are always happy. Now, stress is a part of life. We can't avoid it. And so what I do in my own personal life is I actually have a wellness plan. It's on my phone, so I can refer to it whenever I need to and remind myself. But I have daily things I will do. Like I will exercise, meditate, spend time with family, go and play, do whatever, spend time outdoors in nature. There's a whole list of things that I do. And then if the stress gets worse, I go to level 2 on my wellness plan. And then I add more things. And then if stress gets really worse, then I go to level 3. Like say when my father died, I take time off. Maybe I talk to a mental health professional or a counselor just to get a different perspective. So these things can help, but we definitely have to be able to manage stress. And what I see as a cardiologist is people are not managing stress well, and that leads to disease and illness.
Sure. Dr. Sola, both as your personal, you said, level 1, 2, 3, and as a cardiologist, what are these symptoms or signs of, stress increasing?
People will get angry. That's the most common thing. They'll take their anger out on their spouse when they come home, or their kids, or their dog, or whatever it is. They might take it out on their colleague. People can be angry at something at home and then take it out on their colleagues at work. It also goes both ways. So these are definite signs of stress. People make bad decisions, financial decisions. They make bad financial decisions. They make other bad decisions when they're stressed. The key is, and there's so many other things, but the key is to catch it when you're stressed. Take a deep breath in, maybe 3 or 4. Maybe take a break also if you need to, meaning even just stop what you're doing for 5-10 minutes, um, and then continue. The key is to be able to adapt to that stress. We cannot remove stressors from our life. There's always going to be something, but we can certainly adjust to how we respond to that stress.
Sure. Sure. I'd like to ask both of you. I think in the beginning, one of you had mentioned advice for parents and kids, and this is a constant question that we get in our episodes. How do we teach as parents? How do we teach kids living in the present, and especially given the context of that kids literally from age 0 onwards have a screen in front of them, or number of screens in front of them. How does that impact the levels of awareness and the idea of stress and their upbringing? So, what's your advice to parents as doctors on how do you raise kids in these times today?
Sola, you want to take it first?
Sure, sir. Sure, sir. It's hard. My goodness, it's hard as parents these days with all these devices. I think first the parents have to set a good example. I see so many parents in even our own colony, they're walking with their children, yet the parent is on the phone. And what they have just taught their kid is that the phone is more important than their child. And so when that child grows up to be a teenager, they will copy what they have learned from their parents, that my phone is more important than my mother and father. And the moment we lose respect for our parents, everything else goes downhill. So first, parents have to set a good example. What I see in schools, and I take care of children as well, children with heart disease, so I see this all the time. What I see is that children nowadays, like we might look, people in my generation, Dr. Sundaresh sir's generation, we might look at our phone once in a while and then put it away. But the children in this age, whatever activity they're doing, whether it's homework or interacting with their parents, actually they're just waiting to get back to their phone, right? We see this all. This other activity is temporary. They're just waiting to get back to their phone. And so, number one, we have to set good example. 2, you have to be very frank in your discussions with your children and start at an early age. Online inappropriate material, cell phone addictions, the negative things that are there, trolling, and all the other negative things that are on the internet. We have to be very frank and have frank discussions. Don't skirt around it. And 3rd, use technology. Now, yes, children are smart. They're way smarter than us. They will find ways to bypass that technology, but set limits. I have apps on my phone that basically shut everything down after 9:30 a.m. All I get is, I don't even get WhatsApp. I just get a phone call and SMS after 9:30 a.m. And I don't have access to my phone again until 7:30 or 8. And that suits me fine. Some parents set a weekly limit of 15 hours per day for their kids on their phone. It's not 100% because a kid can go and use a laptop or a tablet or their friend's device, but at least it sets certain boundaries. And so setting boundaries as parents is very important. And you have to discuss those boundaries, review those boundaries, get the children's buy-in into why those boundaries are important. It's not just us talking down. The last thing is, I see too many parents these days are running after their children. And what happens when they do that? The children run away from them. Yeah, this happens all the time. Instead, be there for your children, have strict boundaries, make sure they understand why those boundaries are there and that there are consequences if they cross those boundaries, but allow the children to come to you. That's a far better way of parenting than running after your kids. They'll just run away from you.
Sure.
This is a $1 million question. Has been debated a number of times. I agree with everything that Dr. Sola has said. That's why I preferred that he should talk first because I don't have to talk so much. The thing is that, yes, we need to live by example, number one. And in today's world, that you must find out, this is what I have seen, is that both parents are occupied in their own jobs, professions, or otherwise, and they have no time for children.
Mhm.
So when that becomes the issue, the children have to find an alternate method to keep themselves occupied. And today's city life, they don't have friends like we used to have. At home, I used to have at least a dozen friends who would come home to drag us out to go and play something or the other. But today, in the busy life of everybody, there's no time for the children, and the children are not allowed to go out for security reasons on their own. We were all allowed to go onto the streets from the age of 6 or 7, but today it is not. It is not a done thing, and it's not that it is wrong, but the point is it's not done. So therefore, children are dependent upon parents for alternate activities. And the parents should find time for those alternate activities. And then you will find automatically the children will not have time to look at all these things. So they'll accept whatever else you say. This evening's news was very alarming. There was a girl who committed suicide, a teenager, because the mother wouldn't allow her to watch on the phone this evening. So it has got a great bearing on the mental health of children as well.
Yeah.
So the only solution is that children have to be given enough time by the parents or others in the family. That is the only solution. I don't think there's any other solution here. You can take away the phone. My daughter has control of the Wi-Fi at home in her phone. She just switches off the Wi-Fi after a period of time. So the children cannot watch anything on the phones, but they always have the TV. So they find alternates. So that's not the solution, actually. I think parents should be encouraged to spend time with the children, and then only they can enforce what Dr. Sola said is right, that you must make the children come to you and not go on chasing them, go after them and do this, do that. That's not going to work anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
In fact, just to add to this, we had we had a Balvikas guru in one of our episodes. That, several things they do in Balvikas, including focusing on silent sitting, which is becoming a losing practice. And maybe one can add to that what Dr. Sola shared with us today, the thumb meditation from childhood itself. So I think when the mind becomes more silent, some of these things become easier to handle. So we're now moving towards the end of the program. There are a lot of interesting comments which are coming online, and I'll request if anybody has more questions, can please post it on YouTube or our WhatsApp group. One question that we've got, and I'll just start with the comments first, maybe. Brother Srinidhi says, in a very old discourse, Swami had spoken the concept and given the example of a driver. He doesn't think of the past and doesn't think of the future. He's always at the present. It is for this reason driving is a pleasure. We get annoyed when we stop in a jam. Uh, uh, Then Sister Sanjita says, on a daily basis, I guess meditation or silent sitting can heal us. Words, action, reaction. Every day we get affected, emotional issues, and it drains us so much. The thumb practice is something to be practiced. Thank you, doctors. Excellent idea, inspiring podcast.
So, Brother Vikas, can I comment on sister's comment
Sure,
as
please.
well? See, the fundamental mistake in sadhana that sister is making is that she's looking outside in the world. Swami says in Prashanti Bahini, says very clearly, he says that rather than looking at what is seen, look at the seer instead, the one who sees, rather than looking at what is seen. Because as long as you look outside of yourself at this external world, you will always be disappointed. Swami wrote in one of the letters to the boys, he said, God has designed creation in such a way that everything outside of you, in the end, will end up disappointing you. Everything outside of you, in the end, will end up disappointing you, he said. And then he wrote, even your own Swami, anything outside. So instead of looking at what is seen, look at the seer instead, and you will find that peace, that now moment right there.
Right. In fact, brother, to your earlier point, there's this very nice question which has come. You spoke of ceaseless effort for sadhana, right? So somebody's asking, how do you motivate yourself towards ceaseless effort for sadhana, especially when everything seems to be going on comfortably well?
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations for everything going well. Maybe they don't need to have the stress that we were talking about earlier. That's great. You have to want to be with Bhagavan. You have to want to be with him. When we would just see the way, small things, the way that Swami would move his hand. Um, Once I was talking with Swami and he was just holding my hand. We're just talking and holding hands together. You have to want that closeness to the Lord, that desire, that of being with Bhagavan above everything else. And when you have that love, that when that love comes, then automatically the sadhana will come, automatically the effort will come, automatically the discipline will come. But it starts with that love for the Lord first, and then the effort will come naturally.
Sure. Dr. Sundaresh, any inputs there?
No, I think if you make Bhagavan your center, as been described, everything else will fall in place. Just because you're happy for the moment today, it is only a temporary phenomenon. I think if you're looking at something in the long run and you want to have real closeness with Bhagavan, I think the only way is to keep him in your focus at all points of time. There is no other way it can be done. And whatever happiness you experience is only transient. I don't think it's a permanent thing. You're experiencing happiness because of a physical, at the physical level, and that may not be lasting. The only lasting happiness is you have to look at being close to Bhagavan himself. There is no other way it can happen.
Sure. But also to what Dr. Sola said, particularly about, I think very fortunate, very few people on the planet who've, got a chance to hold his hand and be in the physical proximity. And you can, remember that, recall that, and that kind of becomes a motivator. What for the other billions who've never had that opportunity or even.
Bhagavan is right inside you, inside every single cell, inside every single atom, inside every part of you. He is you, just playing this game of separation. He's there, he's everywhere, he's everything. It's just for you to find him. It's just a big game of hide and seek. And you
Sure.
have to look for God inside. So when God created this universe, he thought, well, where am I going to hide that humans will never look for me? And I said, oh, I know, I'll hide inside them. And that's where he hides, inside of you. Stop looking outside of yourself. You will never find anything worthwhile. You do your duty, you do your work, but look inside. Don't look at what is seen. Look at the seer, the one who sees instead.
Sure. So I'll just conclude by, there's so many interesting things we discussed today. I'll just try and see if I can summarize and, summarize the takeaways. And I'm sure I'll miss out a lot of interesting points. But we started by discussing the understanding of living in the present. And one nice thing which you said was, that while the mind is constantly moving, the one underlying thought, which is I am the body, is what makes the mind move so much. So again, connecting back to being the witness, being the seer, uh, that that training will help in not in sort of the mind's motion. It'll sort of start reducing and going from past to future. We discussed the thumb meditation, 12 seconds, and then 12 into 12, 144 seconds as 12 murta, and ultimately into 12, which is 28 minutes, which reaches samadhi if somebody can, be thoughtless for that amount of time looking at the thumb. We spoke of ceaseless effort. And another thing which you noted was, Swami saying it's till you're breathing. So it's 24/7 sadhana and ceaseless effort towards it. On the professional side, you discussed on, dealing with patients, focusing on one patient, listening to patients, listening with all your attention, sharing Swami's love. And when you share that love, you're less interested in criticizing people. You do become sometimes afraid and you forget, and that's why you move towards not sharing Swami's love, or you sort of, forget that. But with practice and patience, you can develop this habit of sharing Swami's love. We discussed some examples of it as well in life. Faith in Swami and faith in destiny are two ways of thinking about this and being in the present, and not again being attached to the baggage of the past or the future. Uh, you also mentioned how Swami has said that thinking too much of the past is a major cause of depression, and depression itself becoming a global epidemic these days. We discussed about methods of relaxing yourself, how it's very important to be relaxing ourselves, to use stress busters on a daily basis. We spoke about change of work being rest, um, to go out and play, uh, to especially for doctors and surgeons particularly, or I think, I mean, actually for anybody, when when you go to work, you think about, I'm not the one who's going to be doing it. And move away from move you get into the idea of Lord as the doer. Exercise, yoga, meditation, work as a stress buster, like Dr. Sundaresh had mentioned, being with nature, even going to the extent of, using mental health services or counselor if you feel too stressed. But essentially, the key idea being that you need to find ways of daily relaxing yourself and finding some stress busters for yourself, and keep a check on your levels of stress. How do you know if you're becoming more and more stressed? You'll know you'll become more angry, you'll be irritated more, you're looking at bad decisions. I think another easier way is to just look at the count of your breath. If you're breathing too fast, you're breathing too shallow, that's a easy indicator of being very stressed. And if you just reverse that breathing rate, if you start breathing more deeply, and it sort of starts calming yourself and relaxing yourself, even chanting a mantra, thinking of Swami, playing bhajans, and so on. We also discussed in the end about parents and kids and the tough times we are in today. I'm not sure tougher for whom, the kids or for parents, but uh, definitely for parents, setting them, living by example, and really consciously thinking of how they want their kids to perceive life, helping them with spending a lot of time with the kids. And I think the context has really changed the last few decades, and that's what we are dealing with here. So we need to find our own ways of seeing how we reduce the screen time. And I think Bal Vikas again becomes a good program, which Swami has given us. I think that training will really help kids today to emerge stronger and better, and have good character as well. I'd like to sort of close here. I would love to have maybe a minute or two of any concluding notes, remarks, anything you might want to share with the audience before I turn it over to Tarang. I'll start with Dr. Sundaresh and then Dr. Gurus,
Yeah,
Dr.
I
Sola.
have only one anecdote to say here that once when I was trying to assist Swami in walking soon after the surgery, I was trying to hold his hand, and he said, "No, you don't hold my hand. I will hold your hand." I said, "Why?" He said, "Your hand can slip, but my hand will never slip.
Mm.
Mhm.
So if you allow Swami to hold your hand, I think he will lead you to where you are destined to be."
Mm. Thank you, sir. Dr. Sola.
That's lovely. That's lovely. I think let's all go practice and immerse ourselves in Swami's love and just melt into that love, becoming nothing but love in that bliss that he gives.
Right. Thank you so much to both of you. I'll turn it over.
Saira.
I'll,
Sairam.
answers. I'll turn it over to Brother Tarang.
Right. I offer my deepest gratitude to Swami, whose divine grace and guidance has made this session possible. There has been a plethora of learnings through this session. And I can see that Swami has inspired the speakers to give their inputs in the way they have. A heartfelt thank you to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Sundesh and Dr. Srikanth Sola, for so generously sharing their wisdom, and as well as to our moderator, Sri Vikas Bagri, for leading us through such a thoughtful and enriching discussion. Last but not the least, our sincere thanks to each one of you who have shared their time with us today. We hope that this session has given each one of us something that we can put into practice so that we come closer towards living in the present and thereby please Bhagawan. We are deeply grateful and we warmly invite you all to join us again for the next session of Life is a Challenge Meeted on 23rd of September of this year. With that, we shall conclude today's session with Om Shanti. Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Samastaloka
Ka
Sukhino
Sukhino Bhavantu
Bhavantu Samastaloka
Samastaloka Sukhino
Sukhino
Bhavantu
Bhavantu Samastaloka
Samastaloka
Sukhino
Sukhino
Bhavantu.
Bhavantu.
Om
Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti Shanti.